Every once in a while I play a game that comes out and just already know it's one of my favorites. I think I'm experiencing that with Hi-Fi Rush because after playing through it and seeing the credits, it left me very fulfilled. Tango Gameworks put their souls into this one, which is unfortunate considering Xbox recently closed them down despite saying Hi-Fi Rush performed well and then having the audacity to ask for more games like it from their other studios, because they just can't make good decisions. But the game that talented group gave us is some of the most fun I've had with an action game since I played DMC5 a while back. Hi-Fi Rush is an entry in the same genre, except everything you do is tied to the music. Every jump, attack, dodge, parry, you name it, it is tied to the beat. Essentially, you play as the main character, Chai, and he signs up for Project Armstrong, a program by the company Vandelay Technologies to give people who needed prosthetic limbs that typically do more than your average prosthetic. Like in Chai's case, his is supposed to be a trash grabber with an electric component that can attract garbage, but he uses it to create a trash guitar to bash enemies. The reason why he stays on beat was because his music player fell in during its installation, so now everything from his perspective is tied to the music. Chai initially signed up for Project Armstrong because he wanted to become a rock star, and thought this would be an easy way to do it. However, Chai is considered a defect and therefore the company wants him recalled. While he's on the run, he comes across the most adorable cat and saves it, which prompts a mysterious voice to sound from a distance, thanking Chai and helping him out with his escape. The voice emanating from the cat from earlier. But it's not actually a talking cat, it's a robot cat made with someone's voice coming out of it. Regardless, Chai ends up synchronizing with 808, the cat's name, and gets some new abilities out of it, and he continues onward while discussing with the unnamed entity ways to get off the campus, which she points Chai to quality assurance as the quickest yet most dangerous way. Chai is a hot-headed doofus that wants the spotlight, which gets him into a lot of trouble throughout the game, but it's really entertaining to watch. I was worried at first he would come off as annoying the whole game, but they actually struck a nice balance that left room for his character to grow later in the story. Often Chai opts for the simplest answers to problems, and in this case it's walking right through quality assurance and walking out the front door kicking any robot ass that gets in his way, which almost works until the head of quality assurance, Rekka, makes her appearance clarifying in the EULA that recalled in this company means death. Which is really something considering that they have a no defect record. That is until Chai beats the robot she summoned and ends their streak. Afterwards, Chai follows 808 to her hideout and you meet the voice behind the cat, Peppermint. She ropes Chai into helping her expose a secret project Vandelay Technologies are working on called Spectra, and in turn, she will help him get off the island. That's the basic premise, and the rest sees you infiltrating different department offices to take out their head leads or take their passkeys to shut Spectra down. Each head exploding with personality that makes them actually memorable antagonists for the most part, and their boss battles test your skills you've been accumulating through the game. Now, I'd consider myself relatively competent in action games. I can do some cool shit in DMC, maybe do a combat encounter in Bayonetta without taking too much damage, but I don't at all claim to be the best at these games. I'm working on it. Hi-Fi Rush is not as difficult as those games, I'd say, but getting used to the beat mechanic took some adjusting. I was worried because initially in the first few levels, it felt like I just could not stay on beat for the life of me, but I stuck with it, and by the end I was getting pretty decent rankings for each encounter. Action games tend to have differences in how ranks work, but some can overlap. For instance, in DMC5 it's mostly about how much style points you grinded up, while the letter grade in an actual fight more so serves as a multiplier of sorts for the style points, at least to my knowledge. This game is more in the style of Bayonetta where you're graded in every encounter, and playing well will get you a good grade for the fight, and keep that up for the whole stage and you'll get the best ranking. Hi-Fi Rush grades you based on how many points you get during the fight, how long you took to clear it, and most importantly, how well you were able to stay on beat during the scuffle. Get most of those right and the S rank is yours. Be like me, that being ass, and you'll have to get used to scoring consistent B's and C's until you finally improve. Difficulty-wise, I wouldn't say Hi-Fi Rush is as hard as the games I just mentioned, even on its hardest difficulty setting, which I did try out a bit. I'd say the challenge for me comes with actually staying on beat to hit my timings to add more damage to my combos and not take my percentage for each encounter. That was the biggest obstacle I had to overcome here, and when I finally did, I was bouncing around the stages smacking robots with my guitar while even my jumping was on beat. There's even a mechanic where after damaging a big enemy enough, they'll go into their final attack. If you parry and dodge at the right time, you can then immediately destroy them with a well-timed guitar swing. The game feels great to play once you lock in and things start to click, but even outside of gameplay, this game just looks amazing. The cel-shaded comic book art style works super well, and I can tell a lot of work was put into the animation in these cutscenes. Hell, the entire game's visual presentation even. All of the environments look amazing. Every single level has 1 or 3 moments where the game wows you with how it looks. It's like no matter what's happening on screen, it could be a wallpaper on your desktop. It's just awesome. Graphics aren't the most important thing for me when I'm playing a game, but hot damn, Hi-Fi Rush has it in spades. One of my favorite things about this game are the cool impact frames it has whenever you do a cool finishy move on a boss, or even during a boss's intro cutscene. As the game progresses, you're introduced to the other characters who join the team, like Macaron, who's this big lovable guy who can punch the shit out of rocks for you. But he's also the guy who tips Peppermint off that something shady was happening within the company, which prompts her digging. Later, you bump heads with Corsica, who is the head of security, but she's kind of a new hire and is kept out of the loop of the whole Spectra thing. Her boss fight's more so you trying to convince her to join your side rather than work with Vandelay, which he fires her anyway for bypassing security looking at Spectra. She's then officially part of the group, and you can use her ability to make enemies more susceptible to staggering and to turn on these generators. Peppermint can come in too and shoot robots to keep your score going up, and also pop blue shields that they sometimes have. Each of the character abilities go on cooldown after use, but you can use one then switch to another one and then use that to keep your momentum up. Destroying the robots earns you gears, which you can use to buy more combo moves, upgrade your partners, buy chip mods that give you passive abilities you can equip in between levels, and even spend more gears on upgrading those, and you can use gears to buy special attacks that consume the rebirth gauge that builds during battle. These are usually one big attack that gives you a lot of points, and depending on which you pick, can be used as a form of crowd control. For the most part, I stuck with double rift because if you find the right spot and pop it off, you can get a lot of points dealing damage to every enemy in front of you. Outside of combat, you can find health and rebirth capacity upgrades in the form of the broken life gauge and rebirth cores, and there's also some in the shop that you can pay gears for and get a few upgrades that way. You can also upgrade your chip and special attack slots through that method so you can equip more of either feature. That being said, I'm sure replaying this game with more chests at my disposal will be pretty fun with how many options there are to mix and match, so I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, all that's left to talk about is the final boss and the post-game stuff. So, further near the end of the game, you begin to learn more about Vandelay Technologies, Peppermint, and her ties to this company. I initially thought she was like a disgruntled employee or something, not liking the direction the company went in, but in one of the later levels in the game, spoilers, you trek through this museum showing how the company was formed, and it seems the original founder was Roxanne Vandelay, who was respected and loved across the company until she retired, putting her son in charge, Cale Vandelay, who since donning his status as a new head, has steered the company in a direction most of the workers disagree with, or at the very least can tell that something's changed since the old head, since a lot of the workers are robots. You can actually read a lot about how the different employees feel working here through left out notes and logs you find in the levels, and they're all pretty interesting reads, though a lot of them are for comedic purposes, like one pointing out a staff member who invented the directional arrow and another who, after believing they were about to get fired, hacked their coffee machine to only put out decaf. I'm not a coffee guy, but it pisses everyone else off in the game, so I think it's funny. Anyways, Peppermint in the museum is rubbed the wrong way by all this because Roxanne Vandelay is actually her mom, and she knows that Cale is rotting off her ideas because he's her brother. This takeover actually happened apparently while Peppermint stepped away from her family after a disagreement with her mom. I'm sorry though, Cale just reminds me of Simon Krieger and Spider-Man Miles Morales. His mannerisms and the way he speaks just rings those bells for me, and the fact his company is called Roxanne doesn't help either when I think of the two. However, I will say I think Cale is more entertaining. A lot of his line deliveries got a laugh out of me.
What's the end game?
I'm securing our future. Please, even you can figure that out.
By controlling the consumers.
It's not control, I'm freeing them.
That's not how I see it.
I don't need to explain myself to a defect. All you do is hit things with a guitar.
But I'm really good at it.
Ugh.
But yeah, eventually you make your way up to Cale and beat the shit out of him, not before he reveals that he mind controlled his own mom to get this job. What a piece of shit. Then Spectra finally gets shut off and the game is over. After the credits though, there's a couple of things to do for the post game, one of which is an endless mode that involves you beating enemies to get higher and higher scores, and the further you go up the faster the beat gets. This one's pretty fun. But the other ones, Rhythm Tower and Power Up Tower, more than likely I'll enjoy these later, but it could just be I was in the mood to climb those two towers. Outside of that, the only other thing you're going to be doing is completing milestones to get gears to upgrade Chai and fill out this mural, as well as going back through the stages to find the secret Spectre doors to partake in a challenge. I didn't find all of these, but the ones I did seem like a good challenge, and I look forward to finding the rest on my own time. All in all, Hi-Fi Rush is an amazing game that you should check out if you haven't yet. There's plenty of summer sales happening, so maybe you can pick this one up on a discount. If not, $30 in my opinion is more than enough for such a great game. Regardless, I will see you all in the next video. Peace.
I won't run away this time, Mom. I understand what you always wanted for me. And the company.
Peppermint, you need to do things your own way. Never change who you are. I think we have a lot of catching up to do.
I'd like that a lot.
Ah, Chai.
I'd love to help, but don't quite think I, fit a job description. So maybe I should see myself out.
Chai,